Alright guys, welcome back. Today we are continuing to look at the coolest, baddest, hottest riffs from 1985 hard rock and metal. We'll look at a few solos too, but mainly riffs. And we're going to continue today and continue along all month here. We're in January 2025 as I record this, and you can expect a bunch more riffs coming at you here in the next few weeks. So if you haven't subscribed and rung that bell kind of thingy there to make sure you get all the latest riffs, make sure and do that now, please. Before we get started on today's lesson, what I'm going to do is point you down to the description box where you'll find my Patreon link. And the reason I mention that is because that's where you can go and get the tab and the guitar profiles for this lesson and many other lessons that I do. Most of them have tab over at Patreon, and some even have backing tracks. So check that out over there, as well as a bunch of other cool stuff I've got uploaded for my community at Patreon. Also in the link, you'll see a free gift. It's called 5 Blistering Licks to Light Up Your Fretboard. And this is just some cool single note riffs in the style of Eddie Van Halen, Randy Rhoads, George Lynch. These were licks that I pulled from some of my guitar courses and put them into a nice little package for you guys to download. It's absolutely free. Please go check that out. So let's get started. To begin with, the band we're talking about today is W.A.S.P. And the song is Ballcrusher. And what a wonderful title that is. I mean, I'm pretty sure I know what he's talking about, but you could take that in a lot of different ways, I think. The guitar player was Chris Holmes, and of course, Mr. Blackie Lawless was heading things up. The Last Command was the album. This is 1985. And for this, we need to tune down a half step. So take your whole guitar and tune it to E flat standard. Here's my low E, just in case you need it. And without further ado, let's get into the riff. What I'm going to do is just show you the main riffs, the chorus riff into the verse, and back into the chorus. And then there's a little bridge that I'll show you too. So you'll have most of the song here, except for the solo. All right, so we get started. This is basically in the key of A. Well, it is in the key of A. And you'll see sort of how we move around the chords here. Here we go. Alright, so there's most of the song for you. The main riff is really the coolest part of this whole thing here. And there's a couple ways you could play this. I was looking for some old footage of W.A.S.P playing this live. I couldn't find a whole lot out there. I'm sure if I dug a little deeper I could find it. But this is a great way to do it, and I'll show you a couple variations too. So what we're going to do is start out with it's basically part of a C chord, but it's just the 5th fret D, 5th fret G. These are called dyads, little 2-note clusters, used all the time in heavy metal, right? Hard rock and metal. Hit that, and then go right to an A5 power chord. That's open A string, 2nd fret D, 2nd fret G. going to play 3 open A strings with the mute. And then we're going to play back to the 5th fret D and G, open A, 4th fret D and G, open A, and then to a G chord. Now, the way I'm doing the G chord here is just playing middle finger on the low E string, mute the A string underneath it, open D, open G, 3rd fret on the B string. Okay, alternatively, you could just play the D and the G strings open. Sounds just as good to me, and it's easier. Like I said, that may be how they're doing it. In either case, you've got the G chord, so you could play it or open like that. So back to this 5th fret on the D and G. Same as before, 5th fret, 4th fret. Now this time we're going to end up at a D chord. And again, here's another way you could do that. You can go up to the 7th fret on the D and G and play the D there, the D chord, implied D chord, or down at the 2nd fret, the open D string, and then 2nd fret A, 2nd fret G, 3rd fret B. I like it down here because it kind of keeps everything right here in this area. Sounds a little heavier and fuller to me. Then it comes back to that 5th fret again. So if I just cycle through the riff, it goes like this. One more time. Okay, and the verse. So you start out with that same 5th fret, and then you're just chugging away on the low A string, on the A string, muted. And then you do this little run here. So that's just 3, 2 on the A string, 3 on the low E. Keep going, and then that was 2, 3, 2 on the A. Same thing, and then to get into the chorus, G, D, C. There you go, and then there's a little part that happens after the 2nd chorus where it goes. Just muting an A5 power chord here, 7th fret on the D, 9th fret G, 10th fret B. Okay, that kind of leads into the solo. So there you go. That's the main riffs for Ballcrusher by W.A.S.P. 1985, the Last Command record. This one's also has Wild Child on it, which I've covered before. You could do a search, or maybe I'll put a link to it at the end of the video. I'll put a link to it. But that's a great song. Probably my favorite song on the album is Wild Child. But this was a really good one too. It's also got Blind in Texas, which I think Blind in Texas might have been the first W.A.S.P song I ever heard. It was on some kind of a compilation cassette. I can't remember what it was exactly, but some of you may know. It was on a compilation with a bunch of other cool stuff. And that was my introduction to W.A.S.P. Great band, and of course Blackie has kind of come around, and he's become a believer now, I think, a Christian guy, which I think is really cool. And his last album was Golgotha, and it's really good, you guys, if you haven't heard it. Still got the W.A.S.P sound, just kind of minus the old sex and raunchy stuff. But in any case, the early W.A.S.P stuff is great too. And this is Ballcrusher from W.A.S.P. Just a note about my sound. You guys, some of you guys are always interested in that. I'm always mixing it up. Sometimes I got the Friedmans fired up. Sometimes I'm using a Kemper. Today I'm using, you can't see it, it's back behind me. And no, it's not the Marshall. It's actually a, it's called Blue Guitar Amp 1. And this is the Mercury edition. And I'm running that through a 2-Notes Captor X. And there's a, on the end of that is like what cabinet am I using? I think it's a greenback. It's like a, from York Audio, actually. This one's the Friedman Blend. So it's like a Friedman cabinet with a blend of a vintage 30s and greenbacks. So it's really cool. Pretty cool sound. I use this sound live. Often I've used it to play shows with the band Q5 and also with my band Reign of Glory. And some of you may know that we just announced our new singer for Reign of Glory, who will be recording an album with us and playing at Immortal Fest this year in July in Versailles, Ohio. Mr. Mark Bowles, from formerly of Yngwie Malmsteen. And of course, Mark has done a lot of great stuff in his career after Malmsteen. So definitely don't discount all the work he's done since then. There's some great material there. But most people know him from the Trilogy album, which was definitely my introduction to Mark. And You Don't Remember, I'll Never Forget. You know, that was the first song I heard with Mark, and it's just a killer tune and a great album. So we're stoked about that. But I digress. We are here talking about W.A.S.P and Ballcrusher and The Last Command. So go check out some W.A.S.P, and I'll see you real soon on the next one. Make sure and subscribe, and go check Patreon if you need the tab for this. I'll see you next time. Rock on.